Welcome, everyone. This is Thursday. We're going to have a lot of fun talking to Julia Flores of Flores Casting. Welcome, Julia. Welcome back. We've had you on before with all of the casting people, and now we have our one-on-one time with you.
Yay.
We're so excited about. Thank you for doing this and for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love seeing my peeps.
Yes, I know this is a good time to see them in our little pandemic here. So basically, I'll start off with the basic question of how did you get into casting?
Ooh. So the short story is that I went to USC and not blaming them. But I went and I lived a year abroad, and I was the only theater arts major in the program. And so the counselor that was in Spain, because that's where I was living, had no idea how to structure me. Basically, I took all the wrong classes my first semester senior year. And then my counselor said at USC, Bill White, for those of you who are old enough to remember Bill White, said to me, "Oh, Julia, you're not graduating on time." And I'm like, "What? What do you mean? What do you mean?" And I'm like, "My father paid for 4 years of USC. He's not paying for a day more." And he goes, "Well, you're going to have to take more classes then." And I'm like, and he goes, "Or you can intern." I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I'll do that." And he goes, "Where do you want to intern?" I'm like, "I don't care. And just get me out of here." And so then he goes, "Well, you can intern at a casting office or a talent agency." I'm like, I don't know, 20 nothing. And I'm like, I have no idea. Just put me somewhere. And that blessed man introduced me to Rick Pagano and Sharon Bialy. I was interned for them and never looked back. It was, I fell in love with casting, just fell in love with casting. And my day has been blessed. My life has been blessed ever since.
So what is it that you love about casting?
I have like an hour, right? And I do want to get to questions. Actors, I really like, I started teaching master classes about 2 years ago. And one of the reasons why I did it was because my husband would hear me on the phone, because I have a home office, for those of you who don't know, unless I'm in auditions with you guys. I have a home office since Gracie was born, so almost 14 years now. And he would hear me, like, because what happens is you guys come in to audition for me, and then once you leave the room, my director turns to me and says, "Oh, if only they had done X, Y, and Z." And I'm like, "Oh my God." And so then I get on the phone with you guys or email you and say, "Let's set something up. Let's talk. Let me tell you what, let's play," right? And then Russ, after years of hearing me say that, just have these conversations, and he's like, "You get all lit up inside." And I'm like, "Yeah, because this is the best part. It's watching that happen. It's my relationship with my actors, and not just blowing smoke, because these are the faces I'm looking at right now. That's really how I feel. I love you guys.
We love you. I love you. I love whenever I get to go in for you. We have a room full of people, and I'm sure they have questions. So everyone, if you have questions for Julia that's burning on your brain, go ahead and drop them into the chat room, and we will be sure to ask those questions of her. So while we're waiting for someone to ask a question, Julia, so you predominantly you're with in La Mirada, McCoy Rigby. You cast for them a lot. You cast also the Boston Court.
Yes.
In Pasadena. So you're able to cast a variety of the other things, of course, as well. You are able to cast plays, musicals, a variety of different things, well-known musicals and lesser-known things, and plays that people don't know. So I know they do a lot of things like that at Boston Court. What's your favorite type of project to cast? Do you have one? They're all different in a new adventure.
Yeah, I mean, I love the ones that challenge me. And if I'm talking about a challenge, I think Boston Court comes to mind, because they think outside the box. Sometimes they don't even think outside the box. They live outside the box. They don't even know where the box is. And I adore them. And they are so creative and so giving and so actor centric that this is not just it's not a I mean, it is, but it's not a business for them. I've been with them since they started. And Michael also does a lot of casting for them too. Michael Donovan also does a lot of casting for them too, and Amy and a bunch of other people. But I trip in there as often as I can. Tom McCoy pretty much owns my soul. So everything revolves around his season for me. And so I fit other clients in when I can, but he's my top dog. He's my man. So and yeah, 27 years with them has been pretty incredible. So
27 years, wow. I did not know it had been that long.
Yeah, I mean, that was I mean, I think yeah, I've been with them since they started.
Gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really awesome. We have some questions that have come in. Alex would like to know, have you ever had an instance in a callback audition when your vision was unexpectedly inspired and changed by an actor?
A lot for me personally. Now, does it translate to the creative team? Maybe not so much, but I will tell you this. Sometimes an actor will come in and I think it's what I look for, it's what I hope for, is that my actors feel like they're in a safe enough space that they can create their own vision of the character, keeping in mind, okay, so it's a safe place to play. So I give you structure. I tell you what the creative team is looking for. And then it's about finding your connection within those guidelines. So you're not coloring too far outside the lines, but sometimes you do. And I have had conversations with directors going, I know that that's not, that this, and usually what I'll do is, that usually happens in a prelim, in an initial with me. And then I usually preamble. Everybody gets like okay, so so-and-so is going to be coming in next, and this is what I need you to know. And it's X, Y, or Z. And if that's part of their X, Y, or Z, then I tell them. And I'm always encouraging my directors to speak their minds and to speak up, because you guys don't know. I mean, you can guess at what they want. I tell you as much as I know, but it doesn't always happen. So yeah, but and sometimes it sticks. I mean, Glenn Casal's always saying, oh, that's great, I'm going to steal that. So I'm like, no, we have to hire them and then they can do that. So yeah.
I've heard that from directors a lot of times. Like,
right?
I'm going to steal that. So we have another question. This one is from Liz. She says, hi, Julia. And she said she's noted on your site that at florescasting.com, she's noticed that when people are unavailable for in-person auditions, you will accept self-tapes sometimes. So she's wondering, for people who are in that situation and have to submit a self-tape, what gives them a fighting chance against in-person auditions? What can they do to make their self-tape more successful?
Hi, Liz. That's a great question, especially now since, I've been talking to more of my clients in the last week or two, and I'm not none of us are sure what's going to happen, but I can almost guarantee you that it's going to be a long while before we start to do live auditions again. And so I think that now we all need to start gearing, and by we, I mean me and you, start gearing towards doing video auditions. And that means that you have to get really good at it. And sometimes I think it's kind of like, I I think video auditions, you can't be the only eyes on your video audition. I think
Absolutely.
you need to give your video audition to somebody else. Cause like I think I mentioned, my process has always been, in the past when I've been coaching actors is they send me an audition video, then I give them notes, and then they redo the audition video, and then we talk again. So it's like a step-by-step sort of process. So I think, I'm not saying it has to be with me, although I'm open to that, obviously. But if you have somebody else do it, because other people will see things that you don't see. And so I think it's really important to get another set of eyes on there. I also think it's really important that you follow the guidelines of what they've requested you to do. So that means videotape the material that they've asked you to videotape. It means provide the picture and resume if they've asked you to provide it. And even if they don't ask you to provide the picture and resume, put it on in your email. So make sure that, I always say, you want to make as few steps as possible for whomever's looking at your video. So that means when you send the email, like you're sending the email to me, you're going to have the title in the subject and your name, right? Because chances are, if I like the video, I'm going to forward it to my clients. And so it's great if all that stuff's in there. And then you're going to have your link, and always look at, because I don't know, Amber, which format you like, but I cannot stand WeTransfer.
I hate that. I put that on our website. Absolutely no WeTransfer.
And I got to tell you guys, there are clients, I'm not picking these, what do you call it, formats, just because I want to make your lives more challenging. I'm doing it because my clients will not download a document like that. They will not. Like, I'm taking my life in my hands, my computer's life in my hands every time I do it, but they won't do it, period, will not do it. So basically what means I have to wait to see them physically, and then I play it on my computer because they're too chicken poop to play it on theirs. So look at the formats, like YouTube, make it a private video. If you make it a private video, what do you have to include? The password. I can't tell you how many people will submit videos to me and not include the password. I'm like, really? And make sure that, especially now, because God only knows how long we're going to be doing this, make sure that there's, I know that there's a way on YouTube that you can make it available for an extended period of time. So I'm thinking myself already, I'm thinking those people who submitted videos for me for Sound of Music and Mamma Mia, I'm in deep doo-doo. I'm going to have to ask them to resubmit, because if you put a time deadline or whatever, what's it on it, I have to ask you for it again. So think of that. And then just make sure that you've got your contact information, everything's there in that one email.
As we were talking about YouTube and having the videos be private, I know I usually recommend to actors to make the video unlisted. That way only the people who have the link, because also keeping track of the passwords or having to do the password, that's one extra step that that casting and our creative team don't really want to take, or need to, like, shouldn't have to take that extra step. But I understand people want to have things protected. But also, great point with the time limit and making sure that it doesn't expire, because then you have to go back to them and say, hey,
expire, that's the word. Yes.
I have two questions that I'm going to roll into one from Alyssa and my friend Sloan. So we have, what's been the hardest role to cast, and what's been the most fun show to cast?
One time for San Jose Rep, I had to find I'm trying to think of what the PC term would be now for it. I don't know. Like, I had to find a little person.
Okay.
For what was it, By the Bog of Cats. Holly Hunter was in it, and Timothy Neer, she was my artistic director there. She was directing it. I had to find a little person, and that was very challenging. And they were very challenging. They are women, strong women, love that. But it was challenging. It was definitely challenging. That, maybe working with Stephen Burkhoff, which I will never do again in my whole entire was pretty darn challenging. But all the rest of them, I mean, like I cast theater from Los Angeles, so it's all got a little something, something for me. And then the funnest show, was that the question?
Yes.
See, I have a feeling this might have come from my Sloan.
It did come from Sloan.
And it's very appropriate that it comes from our Sloan, because the answer is
Matilda.
I swear to you, that show had some sort of weird, it had the Peter Pan fairy dust on it is what it had. Because it is really, that has been from, and I got to tell you, I almost didn't cast the kids in Matilda. Initially, it was gonna come. Lindsay was gonna do it from the conservatory, and Tom at one point just goes, "Oh, no, you just do it all. Just do it all." And I cannot imagine not casting, not only not having my hands in casting for all of it, but also to these kids were and are, will always be such, it was magic. It was just magic. And everybody in the ensemble, and I mean, everybody, it was just freaking, it was special.
This is a very, very strong cast. Yeah, my favorite shows to cast are ones with kids in them also, because they're like magical little creatures. And I love working with Sloan.
She Daniel, ain't so bad.
And Daniel Peters is on also from Matilda. Yay, we've got some Matilda people on here. Yay.
See, okay. We follow each other everywhere.
That is what I hear. That is the word on the street. Sesame Street, no, Theater Street. Let's see, there's some more questions. Back to videos. From Carla. Carla would like to know, what is a tip you have, or not just videos. Okay, Carla would like to know, what is a tip you have for actors prepping, getting ready for an audition, either self-tape or in person?
Read the play, and then read it again, and then maybe read it again. I think it's one of those things where you cannot read it too much. Well, yeah, no, I shouldn't say that, because you probably could. But I just think, on the first read, you're thinking, your mind is going to a certain place. And then on the second read, you catch more of the nuances and stuff like that. So I always recommend reading it through twice, getting as much information as you can about the show, and doing your prep work, making sure that you are familiar enough with the text that you can be as off book as possible, so that we don't see this, we see this, right? And making sure that you feel comfortable, not only with the material, and you feel confident with the material, but also, listen, I'm a girl. So it's like, if you had an outfit prepared and ready to go, I always say have a plan B and sometimes a plan C, because you may wake up that morning going, oh, no, not wearing those pants today, or whatever. So having that, so that you're not stressed out, proper planning keeps the stress level a little bit lower. And I also think that if it's the first time that you're coming in for somebody, and even if you're coming in for me and we know each other, but you've never auditioned for the director or the choreographer or the whomever's in the room, do your homework, know who these people are. I think also too, I'm a very visual person, and I know that when I work for a director for the first time, I always Google them and get as much information about them as I can, so that I know sort of like, what are their likes, their dislikes, what do they vibe with, and also too, what do they look like? So your visual is already set.
That is, what the point you made about having a plan B and C for the outfit is so very real. I know there are times I've had my outfit planned out. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm wearing this. I put it on that day, and I'm like, nope, I'm not feeling this outfit today.
Feeling it. And you have to feel your outfit. I don't want to say that that's, you know, I don't want you people spending more time on your outfit than you are on the material, but I know that you won't. But it's you've got to, you know, I would say you go in with your power outfit, you know,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever helps you, you know, your wardrobe. That's why they have costumers, right? It's because they help you get into that heart, into that mind.
Mm-hmm. Also, it increases your confidence level when you feel good on the outside as well. You feel confident. Otherwise, if you're worried about your outfit, you're going to be worrying about that instead of what you need to focus on. So that's actually, yeah, I'm glad that we mentioned that. You're talking
Yeah.
about being familiar with the text and everything, so you're not in the paper. And this is something we've covered before in our big group casting session, but we talk about it again, about the whole memorization thing and not having the paper in your hands or having it in your hands. What are your thoughts on that?
I just want you guys to feel safe. I want you to feel confident. I want you to feel like you don't have to worry. And so just hold it. Just hold it. And I know we talked about paper versus electronics, and
Yes.
there were some very strong views about no electronics. I think, Amber, you're on team no electronics. I don't really care.
Yes.
I mean, I could think that, but if it's one less thing for you to worry about, you know, paper's always the best. I think that that's tried and true. Paper isn't going to get glitchy on you. Um, but yeah.
And oh, Tatiana has a question. Tatiana Alvarez. I adore you, by the way, Tatiana, wherever you are in this Zoom chat. I can't, oh, there you are. I see you now. Tatiana wants to, well, I'll say this so that you can hear it as well. She says, going in for you both is always such a lovely and warm experience. Thank you so much for creating that environment for actors. What is something you see in the room that connects you in the moment with the actor while singing? And do you find a song choice determines whether you give someone a call back?
Thank you. That's very sweet. Amber and I both say thank you. You know, I mean, you guys, I always say this, but you guys, uh, you bust your hump for me. And I know that. I so know that. That's why I am not the casting director you want to hire if you're going to do a courtesy callback. When my clients use that word, it makes me want to retch. Because there's no courtesy in a courtesy callback. It's like
Amen.
I always tell my clients, I'm like, listen, you have no idea. That actor has to, you know, that they're going to be preparing. They're going to be, you know, they don't know it's a courtesy, and they're going to be getting in their car. And sometimes, I'm not saying it was this particular client, but drive an hour to get to you. How is that a courtesy? So anyway,
And getting their hopes up as well.
it sucks. And especially in a final callback, that's heart-wrenching. That's heart-wrenching. But now I can't remember, Tatiana. Oh God, I'm sorry, babe.
Her question?
Yeah.
Oh, she wanted to know what is something that you see in the room in the audition that connects you in the moment while the actor is singing, and how does the song choice help determine whether or not they get the call back?
Thank you, Amber. Yeah, the it's connection. It's a connection. I was saying earlier, I've just been teaching class all day, and so I'm trying to remember who I said it to. But anyway, it was somebody. I was saying to somebody that when you have that connection with somebody, and you're being sung to instead of at,
Yes.
big difference. Really, really big difference. And then we were also talking about the whole internalizing things. You guys have to remember, and this is what I'm partially nervous about with the whole video audition thing, because our art form is two-dimensional, three-dimensional sometimes. And so now we're talking about using a medium that's one-dimensional and making decisions off of that, which to me is a little, you know, what are we going to do? So I think now more than ever, that's why I say it's really, really important that we start honing in on audition video skills. It's huge. It's going to be huge. And so, but even in the room, when you internalize, as some actors do when you're singing, and it doesn't happen so much with the scene work, but with the singing, I get the closed eyes sometimes, and or the non-specific choice. Like you're just sort of singing to, like sometimes after a song, I'll stop somebody and I'll say, "Who are you singing to?" And you get that scared deer in headlights kind of look. And for Mamma Mia especially, there was one song that we had the Sophie sing, and the lyrics are misleading because it's kind of Sloan, Carly, girls, Daniel, close your ears. It's kind of sexy. So, they could be misconstrued in that way. But it was a song sung to one of her dads. And if they'd read the book, even when you're going in for a musical you've seen, you should read the book. You should read. And so I'd stop them because they would creep me out. And I'm like, "Who are you singing to?" And they're like, "Hey." And I'm like, "No. Never know." I'm like, "No." So choose who you're singing to, know who you're supposed to be singing to, and bring it out. And if a song, like say you go in for a general, and you're singing just a song that's of your own choice, have it be something that can be sung to someone, a specific someone, and for a specific reason. Like instead of making it about you, making it about the other person and that communication with the other person. I got to tell you guys, it's so amazing what a difference that
Makes all the difference in that. I was going to ask you a question in terms of video and the eye line, but I'm going to combine it with Emily's question. Emily Peruca would like to know, are you in the room, are you team eye contact or over the head?
I don't care. As long as, I always say, as long as you guys are okay with me making notes, because if I didn't take notes, it's very challenging. As long as you're okay with me looking down, I don't mind. Okay. If you're nervous about looking at one of the creative team, a really good suggestion is to look at one of the assistants, preferably the casting assistant, because they're not going to be actor folks. The only problem is I know that Kelly and Emma always sit on my right. And so, and usually my creative team, Kelly and I are usually at the end of a table, and then my creative team is usually over here. And so doing a monologue to or singing to us sometimes takes your eye line off, but that's not a big deal as long as they can see you. But while we're talking about this, I have to tell my girls and some of my guys, just make sure that when you're going like this or like this, that we can see your face and not the that, right? So we should be able to see your face at all angles.
Yes. Sophia has a question about material. Do you feel it is better for an actor to bring in a piece they love from their book that may not be in the genre of the show, but not perfect for the show, versus an actor bringing in a piece they're less familiar with, but they feel like is more right for the role or show?
I think that you need to respect the show. I think you need to respect, save that monologue you love for an EPA or a LORT audition or, a general audition. But you need to me, and I think Amber and I feel the same way, it's somewhat disrespectful when you come in, like in the same way that I wouldn't call you in for a role that you weren't right for. I'm going to expect you to be prepared with appropriate material. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Because if you come in with material that you love, and it could be great, but what if it's totally left of center of what we're casting? So basically you just wasted your time and ours.
I had an audition where someone sang Vanilla Ice Cream for Mamma Mia. I was thinking, it's not quite the right choice for this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I could live my whole life and never hear that song again. Just an FYI. I see Natalie, right?
If you go in for Flores casting and you see Julia Flores, be sure you are not singing Vanilla Ice Cream.
Yeah, if you're a kid, unless I'm casting Annie and my director has made me, don't sing Tomorrow and Vanilla Ice Cream my whole entire life. And for whatever reason, Gary, Indiana always stays in my head. If one kid sings it, I will have Gary, Indiana in my head, like poor Russ and Gracie. They're like, no more. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I'll just go around Gary, Indiana, Gary, Indiana. Yeah.
How do you feel about people singing from the show they're auditioning for? Are you in favor of that or against it? You don't have a preference?
I only want you to sing from the show.
Amen. Me too, just for the record.
Yeah. And I've had so many clients that go, oh, they can sing whatever they want. I'm like, nope. And so I'm like, no, you can pick material from the show for them to sing, or I will. Because otherwise, then what ends up happening, guys, is that you sing something else, and then we have to bring you back again to sing something from the show, which makes no sense.
And then we find out that that it's not in your range after all. Yeah.
I mean, I'm all about saving everybody's time. Let's just do this in a few steps and as little crazy as possible.
Okay. Dylan is asking this question. It's his second time, so I'm going to pull it out there this time. Make sure Dylan gets his question answered, because this affects a lot of people. A lot of dancers out there are wanting to know, like, how do they navigate this video audition thing when they may not have this space to be full out? And with video auditions happening, they're going to be happening more and more. How did the dancers adapt to this? Do you have any?
Yeah, we're definitely have to work on that, sweetie. I mean, I know, oddly enough, when we were at the top of this pandemic, Dana, Natalie, and I were talking about, how do we, because literally, I mean, for those of you who remember, it went from a full session on Monday the 16th, and I am not one to remember dates. I will always remember this, to wait a second, let's figure out a way to make this so that then there's as few possible. So I rescheduled everybody and put them in smaller groups. And then it's still like when something sits in your craw, guys, you cannot not listen to that. And then I was talking to Dana, I was talking to Natalie, I was talking to Emma, and all of us were just like, there's something that's not right. So I had already asked Dana and Natalie to videotape the choreography. And so Natalie brilliantly did it. And then Rodrigo was doing the boys stuff. And it was gorgeous. It was just gorgeous. And so what we were going to do then was we were going to have you guys learn it at home and then come into the room to do it. Now, I still think that may end up happening, that maybe that's a solution. But then what would happen is it just depends on where we are come audition time for the next musical. But I would have to feel comfortable enough. Like, I know that like in the big room in Screenland or at the rehearsal hall from McCoy Rigby, I would feel comfortable having maybe 5, 4, 6 people in that room, dancers in that room at once, and then scheduling them out hugely enough that I don't have any overlap and you guys aren't, because you guys are sweating and but most of the sweating happens with the learning part. So my hope is that, and I know my creative teams are freaking amazing. And so I know that all of us, honey, are going to do everything we can. I'm so conscious of not putting my dancers at risk. That has been something I keep trying to think of different things. And I think that that's as close as I've come to trying to figure this out. I think that makes sense to me. And I also think too, just for my legit shows, or the you know, even the principal roles for the musicals, I think probably what we'll end up doing is do video auditions for everything but a final callback, and then scheduling those final callbacks out so far that you guys aren't waiting in a room. And it's going to kill me not to hug you, because you know I'm a hugger. Amber's a hugger.
Yes.
So, but canceling that session was the best choice I think I've made in a very long time, other than marrying my husband. But yeah, he's pretty cute. Wait, you guys want to see it?
Yes.
Now I'm just, see why I don't do video, guys? Anyway, there's our wedding picture is up there, higher above me. But anyway, he's a pretty cool guy. So yeah, I would say that that's probably what's going to happen. The problem though, Dylan, is that, like, you know, what happens if you don't even have the space to rehearse in, right? Thank God we're not in New York, because then you'd be in a shoebox of a shoebox. But I think everybody's just going to have to do their best. You know, I think it's not going to be what it was before, but who knows? It might even be better.
It might be better.
I'm not, you know, everybody calls me Pollyanna, but I swear, like, I don't want to spend my life thinking the worst of everything. It just takes too much icky energy. So
I agree with that. We had a question. Liz would like to know, what are the types of notes do you typically take in an initial audition when you're seeing someone for the show for the first time? What are some types of notes that you jot down?
Like, am I seeing someone for the first time ever, or am I seeing them just for that show first time?
How about both?
Okay.
Answer.
Yeah. So if I'm seeing someone for the first time, what's always helpful to me is initially what my first impression is of them type-wise. Like, you know, if they're not a normal height, if they're not an average height or weight, or and then I also jot down their age, because what you guys look like on your pictures is not always what you look like in the room. And I'll also make notation of that, because I'll take pictures and resumes back to the office, and I'll look at them going, I don't remember this person. And then I have to go find my notes. And then I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember that person. So that's usually what I jot down initially, or after you leave, because once someone's in a room, I don't like to do this, and I just think that for me, a field audition where you're supposed to be connected and all vibing with the person if they're not even looking at you. So typically that's something I'll make notes of that after you leave, like while Kelly or Emma are off getting someone. That's what I'll do. And then also too, where you fit into this world, and if you fit into the world for that particular show. And if you don't, sometimes somebody will strike me and I'm like, oh my gosh, they would be perfect for X, Y, or Z. And I'll also make notation of that. Like with Tom, I always know what we're doing in one full in. And so I, with one of my other clients, and see you for that one, because the first thing I do when I get a project is talk to my director, my creative team, and then I go to my schedules from previous shows, and that's where I draw 80% of the people that I see are people I've seen before or people I saw from video, and then I open it up for video as well. And then the people that I know, it's pretty much the same part two of that. It's you know, it's where they fit in this world. And and then also too, I'll also write down, because I don't want, although we do sometimes stop and start an initial, which is why I love initial auditions, because we can play, are just notes, like, you know, maybe we look at it from this point, or focus on this, or, you know, let's add this to this. It's like a recipe. It's just like a recipe.
Oh, I've got more questions coming in. We only have time for a few more, everyone. This goes by so fast. It's really crazy how fast this goes. I have a question before I get to these that have come up in the chat. So for the actors out there, you just said that a lot of people that you'll see for future auditions are people that you have seen before. So how does someone that you haven't seen before, what's the best way to get seen by you?
I still go through all the submissions. Kelly and Emma do not do that. I do all of that. I set up the website. I go through pictures and resumes. I go through every video audition I get. So submitting picture and resume, and even if and usually now I'll say, even if we don't ask for it, go ahead and submit a video.
Mm-hmm.
If you send it to me, if you take the time, effort, and energy and love and care to put together an video audition, I darn well better take the 5 minutes it's going to take to go through that. Or else again, there goes my sleep. You have no idea how much you guys mess with my sleep. So yeah. But that's the best way to do it is submission. And I'm like, email me. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, I just feel really passionate about this, Julia. We're submitting a video audition, though. Check on the website and see when we're accepting video auditions and what we are asking you to submit with the video audition.
And read everything twice and be sure you are absolutely following what is being asked of you. So Maddie would like to know, speaking of submissions, do you use Actors Access or should the submissions be emailed to you?
Yeah, no, Actors Access is great. I use Actors Access a lot, and I don't just use it from the actors who are submitting. I also use it because I don't just cast from my lists and from the people who submit. I also will run a mass search for roles because I just want to make sure I always tell Tom, I'm like, no stone unturned.
No stone unturned.
So now at this point, he'll look at me and call it no stone unturned. And I'm like, no stone unturned. So yeah, that's my job. That's my job. That's what we do. And it's our job to make sure that there's nobody that we've missed. And so I'll run like a search. And I even have like a system when I go through Actors Access, and I'll put actors into a certain file, and then I'll go through and I'll read all their resumes. And sometimes I'll reach out to them and I'll say, can you please come in, or can you submit a audition video? And so it's great. I love it.
Alyssa would like to know, is there anything specific that puts an actor on your no hire list? Do you have a no hire list?
Yeah. I think we went through this on one of our last calls, the BOC list, the
Yes.
Bucket Crazy list.
Oh yes.
Life is just too short, guys. And I think, 50% of my job is to hire the best talent, and 50% of it is to weed out the BOCs. I remember when I first started with Tom 27 years ago, he used to come to every blessed audition. And then he just barely shows up to the callbacks, because he's like, fine. But it makes me more crazy because I know very seriously his trust means everything to me. And I don't want to blindside anyone. And so I just want to make sure that people are, and I don't mean, because we're all artists, so we're all going to be a bit eccentric. That's not bad. That doesn't scare me, but it's just show up where you need to be, when you need to be there. Don't say yes when you really mean no. If you're not available, tell me. Don't lie to me. I think we covered this too. I'm not to be lied to. Ask my daughters. And don't say, yeah, I don't like it when, like, because you guys who have auditioned for me know I always have a contact sheet that you guys fill out, and it's got everything on it that's on the website. It hits all the high points. And then you have to put your conflicts on there. And I don't like not knowing about the conflicts, going to make you an offer and then finding out about the conflicts, because then my clients look at me like I've sprouted 2 more heads. It doesn't look good for you, and it doesn't look good for me, but mainly it doesn't look good for you.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
Tamara, I'll ask Tamara's question, and I think Julia has a good question too. But let's see, I'll try to get to Tamara's question. On the resume these days, what do you like to see? Hair and eye color, height, weight? What are types of things? I guess that's for just for the physical things. What do you like to see on the resume? What's important to you to see?
I think especially if I don't know you, and even when I do know you, it's always like, you know, again, we have the contact sheet, so it's all on there for my clients, but a lot of times they'll say, well, what are their union status? Or how tall are they? And then, you know, for the kids, you know, not the full date of birth, but just knowing their year of birth is helpful. And height for kids in inches, not in, I mean, in feet and inches, not just, don't give me, like, I used to hate that with Peter Pan, 48 inches, 48 inches.
Thank you.
Like, oh,
Thank you for saying that. I have
how much is
the
that?
hardest time trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So, but adults don't need to worry about that. God forbid. So that's helpful. And I would say if you're not an average size, like for a man, if you're under 5'10", and you know, if your height or your weight is anything other than what would be considered average, I would put that on there, because the picture won't always reflect that. And so that's helpful to know. And your union status. I'm always a look at the glass half full. So I don't mean that you have to put on there, if you're non-equity, that you're non-equity, but it just means make sure that you've got your other union affiliations, just so that you guys know. If you have SAG and AFTRA on there, but you don't have equity on there, I'm going to assume that means that you're non-equity. However, I don't leave anything to chance. And so that's why you fill out that contact sheet for me.
That is, do we have, where's Gigi? Do we have time for one more question, Gigi?
Oh, absolutely.
Yay. Okay, so Julia Springer's question. Well, since we were just talking about kids, I'm going to go back to the question from about kids auditioning. I know we have some kids on here. And you and I both, and TJ, I know also, we don't like for kids to be super coached before coming into the auditions. What is that? How? So I know she's talking about her twins. She says they love to prepare and practice. So would you rather see a solid audition or one with more spontaneity? And is it easy for you and the casting team to differentiate between actors who are well prepared versus overly coached?
Okay, so one of the reasons why my Matilda kids are so special is because they just came in as themselves, and they were ready, they were prepared, but they weren't coached. And if they were coached so minutely that I couldn't even tell. I cannot stand coach kids. And I beg and plead parents, do not coach them. You think you're doing them a favor, but you're actually doing them a huge disservice. Because I will tell you, after years, 30 plus years of casting kids, you can teach a child to do something more easily than you can take away what they have learned. It is crazy, because like kids cannot, very few kids can take an adjustment like the way grown-ups can. They learn it, they learn how it sounds, they learn how it goes into their muscle memory, and then you are in deep doo-doo if it's not what the, and plus there's something so robotic about it.
Yes.
I just want, my Matilda kids were just real. They weren't all phony and practiced and oh my gosh, they're like kids that I wanted to hang out with, and I do want to hang out with, and I do hang out with, right? And so that's what makes them, it's like anything with acting. It's like if you coach it to death, if you're going, and parents are very well intended and just don't spend your money on coaches. It just, because they don't know what we want. We know what we want.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be teaching someone to go far to the left and we want far to the right. And then what?
Mm-hmm. Does that, oh, okay. This has to be the last question, everyone. Last one. And because it is along the lines of what she was just saying, I'm going to take that one that just came in. Last question. Hopefully we can get Julia back to answer more of your questions. But Cheyenne would like to know, in regards to what you were just saying, does that apply to teens and adults as well?
Yes. 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 First and foremost, trust yourself. First and foremost, trust your instinct. First and foremost, create and find who this person, who this role is for you. And then secondly, make sure that it's informed by and shaped by what you know that we want, or what you think that we want. No, what you know that we want. Because I know I will, and Amber does too, and I know Michael does too, will tell you what the creative team is looking for. And if you're not clear, ask us, email us, because I would much rather get an email from one of my people saying, okay, I'm doing this, but I just want to make sure I'm on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
You know, rather than have you feel insecure and just feel, because sometimes if you are trying to balance between doing this or doing that, then it ends up falling somewhere in this like arbitrary purgatory. Yeah. And just it feels non-committal.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree with all of that, Julia. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us again and doing this one-on-one. And we could do this for so many hours, gosh. And I hope that we will be able to get you back and do it again. Thank you all for being on today with us and talking to Julia. Thank you for your questions.
Hey, Julia Springer, you can contact me directly with that question. Okay.
Yay. Okay, so I will now pass it back to Gigi.
Well, thank you, Amber. This has been a great discussion, and we could speak for hours and hours. But Julia, thank you so much. Amber, thank you. Thank you for everybody joining us. I hope that you got a lot of value from this session. And that wraps a great day of 3D+U sessions. Tomorrow is Fantastical Fridays.